Good evening. Welcome to the Living in Utah live question and answer session here Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. I try to hold the question and answer session every week at the same time. It's an opportunity. You're welcome to ask any kind of questions you want. It's just an open forum, just a free for all. Grab your favorite beverage and join us in a conversation. We can talk about just about anything, whether it's the state of Utah, real estate topics, the United States. Sometimes people join us from around the world. So definitely, if you've got questions in general about the United States, could definitely help you out best I can. And we're also going to talk about there is a Utah town that has been rated number 6 on a list of the best places to live for families. Anyone take a guess what city it is? So I was actually, when I saw the article, I was intrigued and had to instantly find out what the city was. But it is a beautiful time of year. I love this time of year. Temperatures like 78 degrees, no humidity. It's just great out. If you're an outdoor enthusiast, it's just fantastic time to get outside, explore Utah. And it's a great time to see the national parks. A lot of people like to see the national parks during the summer months, and most of them are located, they're all located in the southern half of the state. And during the summer months, you get the extreme temperatures, 100 degrees at some of the national parks. So this time of year, as it's cooling down, I would imagine at national parks, it's probably about 85, 87. Great time to visit the national parks. So this is the time. If you have any questions, by all means, just throw them up on the screen, and I will do my very best. And I'm going to continue on with the number 6 place on their list for 2022-25 best places to live for families. We had one city on the list for number 6, and it jumped to number 6. It's in Davis County, so that will be north of Salt Lake City, and the city is Clearfield, Utah. It ranked high for lifestyle and location offers, the abundance of job opportunities it provides, and the high-quality medical center it houses, according to the magazine. And they're correct with everything there. Job opportunities, right next to a military base, civilian jobs, government jobs, a lot of defense contractors, and many more companies also in that whole area. They actually have what they call the Freeport Center. It's kind of like a business depot. There's numerous companies located throughout that center that they have there, just down the road. So it ranked high for that. It said, whether you're looking to raise little ones in a safe suburb or are true to the mountains and crave outdoor adventure, Clearfield is equipped to bring residents the best of both worlds, according to Fortune. They have an abundance of outdoor activities, including mountain biking, skiing, snowboarding, as well as hiking and birding, which is done at the Great Salt Lake Shore Preserve, mere 7-mile drive from Clearfield. So, Clearfield, Utah. There's a lot of cities around there also that very similar to Clearfield. So, Clinton and Syracuse come to mind real quick. So they talk about some of the employers, Lifetime Products. Yeah, they have a big outfit there in Clearfield, in that Freeport Center location that I talked about. And Clearfield is well known as a military town. Along with career opportunities, residents of Clearfield also have high-end medical care close by. Intermountain Healthcare, a Utah-based nonprofit medical group, has a location in Clearfield's larger county of Davis. So it's actually not located in the city of Clearfield, but just down the road. And also a really big facility in Ogden for Intermountain Healthcare. There's quite a few hospitals right around that area. And Clearfield also has about 20 nursing homes in the area. Along with good health and work-life balance, Clearfield also proves home to more diversity when compared to the rest of the state. Talk about being a diversified community. So anyways, it's good to see Utah City, number 6 on the list for one of the best places to raise a family. So great information. I was surprised when I saw the article, and out of a lot of the cities I can think of, I did not expect it to be Clearfield, Utah. So definitely surprised. Have you gotten any rain recently? No. Last week we had rain. It has been mostly dry in northern Utah. Now, southern Utah has experienced some rain. Areas like Moab, and they're on the watch over the next week for possible flooding in areas like Moab. We are supposed to get some rain next week. So that can always change. But rain it can be unique in Utah. And I've traveled to many places around the world, and sometimes you'll get in some countries rainfall where it'll just rain all day. It'll be a light rain, just consistent drizzle all day long. But in Utah, it's like, boy, it just comes and then it's gone, and you see clear skies again. So, and it can come in that quick. There's many times I've left my car windows down. It's nice and sunny outside, and an hour later, it's just raining and then water inside my car. So it definitely can be. And then, give it an hour or so and you got clear skies again. So it does travel through fairly quick. It's rare that I've ever seen rain that will continue throughout the day. So how's everybody doing? It is Thursday night football. I guess I'm competing with the football right now too. Yes. I actually had to figure out last week. I had to figure out how to use Amazon TV. So I realized that the games were on Thursday night now being broadcast on Amazon TV. So I had to load up our Amazon account and figure out how to do all that. So it's the first time I've ever been on Amazon TV. I'm a little more old school. I just have the traditional Xfinity package. It has many channels, and I'm used to just, most of the time I record everything that I want to watch. So I very rarely watch live TV. So it was a little bit different. Can't miss my football though. Any questions this evening on what's going on? Anything people need help with? Questions about the state? Questions maybe about the world? What do you think is happening in Russia right now? Now, there's rumors that Mr. Putin is heading to an underground bunker with some of his close comrades to launch nuclear weapons. True or false? Where are some rolling foothills that are not in the metro areas but have access within 30 to 45 minutes? Of which city? Are we talking Salt Lake City? Because if we're talking anywhere along the Wasatch Front, you're right there. 15, 20, 30-minute drive, depending on, where you're, how far west you are from the mountain ranges. What's the price of gas? Great question. $4.19. It's gone up. We had some gas stations that had dropped below $4. I saw some $3.99 a couple weeks ago, but it seems to be climbing now. I think I paid $4.19 the other day, somewhere around there. Seems to be going back up a little. It will be going up here in the future. Saudi Arabia has to put it bluntly, they've given President Biden the royal shaft is what's happened. They are lowering production, and gas prices, oil prices are going up. And it's amazing how they're doing it now, right before midterm elections. We are 1 month out of midterm elections, and they have just put a big dagger in Mr. President Biden. Was that planned? I think all along. My guess is they wanted to do it a few months ago, but they decided, well, let's wait to the last possible moment. So, yeah. Are child care costs high in Utah? Wow. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. It's been many years since I had little ones. So, as far as if it's higher than anywhere else, I don't know. My brother's granddaughter. So if you can find somebody private, it's normally a better deal. So definitely. How's the inventory of new and used cars? Well, when you drive by new car dealerships, they are pretty much empty. Every manufacturer, very, very slim pickings on new vehicles. Used vehicles, I would say the used car lots are probably about 75% full, not 100%. There are used vehicles out there, but new vehicles, definitely not. I've been told that you mostly have to order what you would like. I know that when I've driven by some dealerships, like if you're looking for some of the hot items, like pickup trucks in the state of Utah, very slim pickings. I mean, you might drive by a dealership's got 3 or 4 brand new trucks. That's about it. So, but has not improved. Really hasn't improved this year. So I personally think that's going to change at some point once we get this chip production. I saw an article on the internet that showed there's a racetrack. Ford's been parking trucks on it, and they showed a picture from, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, and they had taken up about a quarter of the parking lot. Now it's about 3/4 full. And I guess they drive the trucks off the assembly line to the parking lot and pull the chip components out that they need, the computers or whatever, and back to the assembly line to put them on another so that they can park them in this parking lot. So that will be very interesting. You're going to have trucks sitting for quite a while and exposed to the elements, and then hit dealers' lots, selling them as new. Interesting. So we'll see how that works out. And also would be new as in what year? How do they do that? That's my question. So they've been manufactured in, say, 21, parts of 22. Maybe it'll be 2023 when they get to the dealer's lots. Are they going to label them as 2023 trucks? I'm not too sure. So, not too sure. But everything else is coming back around. When I go by the RV dealerships, pack solid. Anything that you would want in a recreational vehicle, it looks like is on their lot. All the lots are full. And I'm starting to see it I keep my eye on the UTV scene. I'm a big UTV fan. And they used to have pay above MSRP, very, very little inventory, et cetera, et cetera. And now I drive by some of these UTV dealers and there's machines just parked outside, ready to roll. I assume they're all for sale. Be my guess. Good evening. Do you happen to know if homeowners can opt out of smart meters on their houses? We can here in our state, just have to pay an extra $13 a month, but worth it. You probably would have to enlighten me on a smart meter. I'm going to take a wild guess at this, and maybe I'm not correct, but so I know that like the gas meter and the electric meter, they upgraded a lot of those to some kind of digital deal, and I think that's so that they can read them without sending someone out to the house. The other thing I've heard in Utah is they have these devices that they hook up, and during certain times of the day, they can like shut your air conditioner off to save power when we're having drawdowns on the electrical grid. If you're referring to that particular device where they can shut your electricity on or off, here in Utah, that's an option. That is, I believe they give some incentives, but that is totally an option. You have to opt in. So I don't have it on my home. My wife works from home, and I'm usually home a lot too. And we just, we pretty much don't want our power to be cut, I guess, to say, in a sense. So if that's what you're referring to, where they can cut it off, in Utah, that's an option. And you get with the power company and they come and install the device, but it's not being installed on everybody's house. It's not an automatic type of thing. Does Utah have a lemon law, or is it buyer beware? It is buyer beware. We do have a lemon law, I believe, on new vehicles, but I've never heard of a lemon law on used vehicles. So buyer beware. How has the recession affected the unemployment situation in Utah? It has not affected Utah. The numbers that I'm seeing is about the same. I mean, there might be a little bit of a job loss here and a gain here, but it's pretty much straight across the board. And that's another interesting topic around the country. So the Federal Reserve wants unemployment to skyrocket. They say that's the only way to bring down inflation. And our unemployment numbers and our that have been coming out have not seen the increase, but they did announce numbers today. I think it was projected at around 200K, and it was at 208K. So we did see an increase on unemployment. But on the other hand, just yesterday, there was a figure on new job creations, and that number was up. So kind of like a little bit of a balance, but the Federal Reserve is not seeing what they want to see in this particular recession. So definitely a different type of recession. And my main reason, I think, is because this is a global recession. Countries around the world are in the same predicament as the United States. We are not the only ones. So we're all sort of on a level playing field. And I think that's why it has not affected job unemployment in any significant way at the moment. Now, I'm not too sure in other states, but that's my general consensus around the United States. This is a global recession. Some of it is due to the war in Russia. And some of it's just due to the fact that not only in the United States, but other countries around the world throughout COVID, their real estate prices went really high. Everything went up really high. There was demand for everything. Same thing happened in the United States. So this is a global environment we're in. So we're all kind of in the same. So it's a little bit different on the whole financial markets in a situation like this, because we're raising interest rates here, and normally that affects things around the world. But countries around the world, they're raising interest rates also. So we're all kind of doing the same thing in a sense. So yes, the on-off option is the same. Smart meter is different and very volatile. EMF, such a big issue here a few years ago. Okay, and what state are you calling about or referring to? Yeah. So yes, the on-off option is the same. Yeah, if you opt for the meter cutout, it's something they have to come out and install at your house. It's not required. We have Florida. Okay, from Florida. Okay, I thought it was going to be California. Well, actually, how are you doing in Florida? That Hurricane Ian came right across pretty much the whole state. So yeah, our electric grid in Utah, I would say we're about at capacity, but we're not quite there yet. But with the job growth, the migration into the state of Utah, we're not far from maxing out our grid system. Is my gut feeling. So we're borderline. We really need some more power plants. So we'll see how things go along that particular stretch of things. There hasn't been a big push. Federal programs in the state of Utah on a lot of different tax credits to go solar. There's quite a few homes in Utah that do have solar power. Unfortunately, lately, a lot of those incentives have dried up. So there's probably not as much solar going on, but I think we are going to have to go back to a program to encourage more solar, and probably have to do it with rebates and tax cuts, or tax refunds, et cetera, et cetera. So I personally I do not have solar on my home. Hanging in there. We dodged a bullet. Flooded yard, 4 foot. Wow. Yeah. I've got friends in Florida, and there's actually a friend that has a YouTube channel living in Fort Myers, Florida, and they got hit really hard. So he's doing okay. It's total devastation where he's at. Other friends up in like Destin area, Florida, and they didn't get hit at all. So yeah, that's something that we do not deal with in Utah. I guess we're very fortunate that pretty much, earthquakes are, I only know of one earthquake, and that happened during COVID that I actually felt. That was close to the Salt Lake City airport area. And that's the only hurricane. I mean, there are earthquakes. There have been earthquakes like in some desert land of Utah, small tremors, nothing that has done any kind of real big damage. So, yeah. Good news. DeSantis got bridge rebuilt in 3 days in Pine Island. It was completely wiped out. Wow. So that's pouring concrete pillars and everything like that in like 3 days. Wow. My hat's off to the man. Then if he accomplished that in 3 days, my hat's off to him. I mean, that, most bridges are 3-year project, not 3 days, 3-year project. So, wow. Great. Yep. Great. I guess my question for people who live in Florida too will be what will this do to home insurance rates? So yeah, terrible. It's terrible. I couldn't imagine having to evacuate. And what do you take with you? I mean, I've never experienced anything like that. Never been in that situation. I have nothing packed up, like must items that have to leave my house. I have none of that. I literally be walking around the house, grabbing stuff, throwing it in the car and going. But yes, totally unprepared I am for that. So, but that has to be terrible situation to be able to pack up and leave. So leave town. And what do you take and what don't you take with you? So very fortunate here in the state of Utah. We have not had situations like that, and I hope we don't. We have several days to prepare, so we are used to it. Okay. Cool. I mean, I'm prepared a little bit here. We have had sometimes you'll get a windstorm that comes through, and it'll knock out power lines. You get like a high wind, and most of the power lines are above ground. And it actually happened to us during COVID. Had some winds come through, and I know that in my neighborhood, all our power lines are underground. And all of a sudden, we lost power. Well, this subdivision is all underground, but the feed that comes into the subdivision is above ground. And our luck was not only did it blow that down, it created a fire and it burnt the pole to the ground. So they come out to repair it. I think we were down for 2 weeks. I think I was without power for 2 weeks. And they couldn't repair it because there was no pole. So then they had to bring digging equipment, and we pretty much got put on the bottom of the list. There were areas because they base it off how many homes are without electricity. And in this subdivision, 50% of it is supplied by a pole on one end of the subdivision, and the other is on another end. Well, we were the only ones affected. My neighbors literally behind me had power the whole time because they are serviced off another power pole, but they do have underground. So we were without power for about 2 weeks. So I am prepared. We do have generator. Our biggest thing was I have a total of 3 freezers, 1 in the house and 2 in the garage. We collect a lot of meat. We buy meat in bulk. We'll split a beef or a pork or lamb. And so we were worried about thousands of dollars worth of food that would spoil. So we had the generator going all the time and burning through a lot of gas, but keeping our meat supply going. So we did have relatives and everything, so we could stay with them. And we ended up just hunkering down and, some good bonding time with the wife, I guess. So DeSantis for POTUS. I like the man. I really do like the man. I know very little about him except what I see in the news media. I wish he would run for office. I do like the man. I also like Governor Abbott in Texas. So I think I have high respect for both of those individuals. And I think that Governor DeSantis is, I personally think that it's not a matter of if he's going to be president, it's going to be when. So he's still young in age and his time will come. And unless some closets come out of the woodwork, then I think he will run for president. And whether he gets elected or not, I think eventually he may well do. Do you have a lot of EVs in Utah? How about the charging network? No and no. We have electric vehicles in Utah. Mostly what you see on the roads are the Teslas. I would say it's a very small percentage, maybe 5%, maybe as high as 10%. That might be stretching it. As far as charging network goes, pretty much sucks. It pretty much sucks. So, and I don't know if this is still the case. This was a video that was floating around, floating on the internet. You could probably pull it up on YouTube. But so, and I don't own a Tesla, so I could be incorrect with this information. But I believe that if you're traveling between Salt Lake City and Las Vegas or St. George, there are Tesla charging stations in St. George, Salt Lake City, Las Vegas, but in between, no. One of the smaller towns along the way, and I want to say it's Beaver, has a Tesla charging station at this man's gas station. and the video is on YouTube. And somebody was recording him, and he was going out and putting bags over the charging station. The guy asked him, "What are you doing?" He goes, "These are closed. You cannot charge your car here anymore." And they asked why. And he says, "I have not been paid from Tesla in X amount of months." It's been a long time. Might even have been like a year. And so he was closing down the charging stations. So from Salt Lake City to St. George, you're looking at 270 miles, 280 miles. And I think a lot of people relied on being able to charge down in Beaver, which is probably about halfway. And I don't know what the latest is on that. And I'm not too sure how old that video actually was. But yeah, there's not a whole lot. And I said a long time ago, and I think I've said it a few nights here, I mean, I'm all for going green. I'm all for the electric cars. Anything we can do to, save the environment for future generations, but we don't have the infrastructure. And I would like to see, we can still do it in Utah. And I'm not too sure about other states, but in Utah, your rest areas along the interstate are owned by the state of Utah. They have purchased that land off of, at least the plat maps that I've seen. When I've pulled up plat maps, it will say Department of Transportation for Utah that they own that property. So I've always hoped that the state or the federal government to come along and say, look, you guys already own the land right down the middle of the parking lot for the rest area. Let's put 50 charging stations. And all they have to do is put the charging stations in, run electricity to them, and we are set up. And that would go a long way. We have a lot of rest areas. That would go a long way to giving us some sort of EV highway to charge vehicles. So, and it hasn't not been done to this day. So they already own the land. They own the rest areas. So we have lots of them. There's a recent video about 29 EVs in line in LA waiting for a charge. About 30 inches per car, the reporter said. Yeah, wow. Yeah, it would probably happen here in Utah if when we go to electric, we have, and so you can go by some of the new malls that have been designed, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 charging stations. Some of the gas stations being built now have some charging stations. The Maverick, a chain of gas stations in Utah by Maverick, they are putting in some charging stations. But once again, at the current moment, I see like 2 charging towers, and I believe you can charge 2 cars off each one. That's not going to work. That's 4 cars, nowhere near enough. So it will be, yeah, it's just not. And there's some hotels, and there's a few places, and it boggles me because when I take a flight and I park in the long-term parking in Salt Lake City Airport, they have some charging stations there. But every time I drive by, I think, okay, so whoever, and there's probably literally like 6 of them there, maybe 7. And you always see cars there. What happens when someone parks their car there, plugs a charger, and they take off on a flight to Mexico for a week? How does their car get moved so someone else can use it? I don't know. I've always wondered. I see it every time I drive by that at the long-term parking. I wonder, how long's that car been sitting there? So 30 minutes. Oh, okay. Takes 30 minutes per card charge. Okay. Yeah. We don't have the infrastructure. So around the country, we do not have the infrastructure, and we don't have the electrical grid either. So we definitely don't in Utah. If we went 100% or we went 75% electric cars, our grid system could not handle it. No. The process to manufacture and dispose of EV batteries is not compatible with environmental whatsoever. You're correct. but this is a real estate channel. I won't digress. Oh, you're fine. No problem. It's the future. This is the future. So I personally would like to see, there's a great anybody watch BBC Top Gear, the Top Gear, the BBC version from the United Kingdom. Its presenters are all English, and it's the English version. We do have a Top Gear America. Well, about a month ago, they had a new episode on, and one of the things they talked about was a fuel that has been produced by the Formula One race teams. The high-speed cars go around the track around the world, Formula One racing. And it's called synthetic fuel. You can run that fuel in any vehicle, zero emissions. So the car I drive today, I could put that fuel in, zero emissions. As good as an electric car, zero emissions. And on the show, they were driving supercars and stuff like that with the fuel in. The problem we have with synthetic fuel at the moment, I think they had a price tag of like $10 per liter or per gallon, something like that. Probably per liter. Being a European show, they do their fuel by the liter. So it's probably per liter, $10 per liter. But why are we not looking more into that, spending more money on that? And we could instantly, as we get this synthetic fuel to market, all the cars that are on the road start running the synthetic fuel, and we reduce our emissions. So very interesting show it was. I've never heard of it before. And to me, it seems like the way to go. Seems like there's a long way to go recharging EVs all around the road. Yep, you're correct. Toyota actually came out maybe 6 months ago and made a statement to the world and said that there is no country that has the infrastructure to handle EVs. And Toyota recently, I believe, in about the last week I read, they've come out with another statement. They're not going in 100% on EV vehicles. They are going to continue with some gas-powered vehicles. They believe that there will be some people that will not go the EV route because of some of the drawbacks that they're currently encountering. So, and I think part of the drawback too is price. Have you seen what it costs to replace a battery? There's a video on YouTube, and the man owned a Tesla from Denmark, Sweden, somewhere in that area. He took the Tesla in, needed a new battery. It was, I don't know, $23,000, somewhere around there, between $20,000 to $30,000, 7-year-old car. And he said, it's not worth it. The car is not worth putting $23,000 or whatever the cost was, $25,000 into it. So he did a YouTube video with pictures of Elon Musk, and he blew the car up. So he blew up his Tesla. He didn't know what else to do with it. And that's shocking. You own a car for 6-7 years, the battery goes, and you got to spend $23,000, probably half of the price of a new one, just to get your 7-year-old vehicle, 8-year-old vehicle back up and running. I think people will not be happy. Not happy at all. And I mean, this kind of relates to real estate too. The EV business, the EV cars hurt the poor people in our society, the lower income earners in our society. That's just across the board. Most of them will not be able to afford to maintain an electric vehicle. But the other thing is, most of your population that is poor or lower income are renters. How many landlords are going to, put solar panels or on on their buildings so that you can charge your car. I doubt it. You're going to have to plug in. You'll pay a higher electricity rate. A lot of homeowners will eventually invest in solar panels. They own the home. So they figure, well, I'll spend the money. I can use it for the house. I can charge my cars. And they will probably get transportation for pennies on the dollar because the solar will generate a lot of their electricity. But the people who are renting will be paying the bill either at a charging station or at their rental complex or rental home. They'll have to pay the bill once again. So not a big fan of that. California banned gas cars by 2035. Yes. I think a lot of states will probably follow suit, but whether or not it comes to reality, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens when that time period rolls around. Does that mean that the 2034 model gas and diesel powered vehicles will be in hot demand and you will not be able to find one? Or will those vehicles sit on dealers' lots unable to sell? Governments are going to have challenges collecting taxes when gas consumption is decreasing. You're correct. But the state of Utah has earmarked some money to figure that out already. They either this year, the previous year, one of the years, they set aside some money to come up with a new system. And basically, top of the list was a mileage tax. So you would somehow report how many miles you did per year, and then they would tax you on the miles, very similar to a gas tax. When you fill up, I think in Utah, it's 43 cents per gallon goes to between federal and state. So you're paying it right then. Instead, you'll pay it when you register your car yearly. You would like give them your mileage. You did 10,000 miles and there would be I don't know, 5 cents per mile charge or something. So please pay us $500 now. So that's what the state of Utah, that was on the top of their list. I'm not too sure where they're at on that now. I know that they earmarked a lot of money to hire firms to look into the future. Poor and illegals get free everything, not to worry. But yeah, it's, changing times. Who knows where we're headed on some of that. I'd like to see more on the synthetic fuel. I also would like to see more on the hydrogen fuel cell. I know very little about the hydrogen fuel cell, but Toyota has one out. They actually have one that you can buy. I believe there's a couple of gas stations in California where you can take your hydrogen car and fill it up. Not much is talked about the hydrogen fuel cell. I know very little about it myself, but I would definitely like to see more information about that. And I would like to see a lot about the synthetic fuel. And if we could go to a fuel that is zero emissions, I mean, that'd be fantastic. So keep the cars you have and off you go. Reduce the emissions and there we go. Any more questions this evening? It has been 45 minutes. Wow, does time fly? Time does fly. Well, I hope everybody's doing good in the state of Florida there. If you've got relatives and stuff by, it's a terrible time. These natural disasters that we have up here. Rough time there. I am going to call it an evening. I'll be back again next week. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Take care.